In the misted valley of Coldmere, where the river curled like a silver ribbon through the reeds, there stood a weather-worn cottage at the edge of the water. It was said no family had lived there for more than a single winter, for the house had a way of whispering at night. The whispers were not loud, only faint murmurs carried on the wind that slipped through the chimney and cracks in the walls. Travellers claimed they heard their own names in those sounds, as though the house itself remembered them. Children dared each other to press their ears against the shutters, and came back pale, swearing they had heard voices telling them secrets no one else should know. One autumn, a wanderer named Eerie Arn arrived at Coldmere. He was a scribe, weary from years of copying other men's tales, longing at last to write one of his own. When he heard of the cottage, he smiled instead of shivering. A house that speaks, he said. Then perhaps it has a story to share. So he moved in, setting his ink and parchment on the crooked table by the hearth. That night, as the reeds rustled and the river sighed, he sat awake, listening. The murmurs rose, soft as breath. Stay, write, remember. Eerie Arn lit a candle and dipped his quill. The words came unbidden, not from his mind, but from there around him. He wrote of a girl who had drowned in the river long ago, of a fisherman who vanished beneath the fog, of a family who locked their doors against the night but could not keep out the dreams. Each tale unfurled onto the page as though the house itself guided his hand. Days turned into weeks. Villagers who had avoided the cottage found themselves drawn to Eerie Arn's door, asking for the stories. He read them aloud, and the people wept, for in the tales they recognized their own Lass's brothers, who never returned from the marsh, mothers who faded in the cold winters, children who wandered too far into the reeds. The cottage, once feared, became a gathering place. But Eerie Arn began to notice something strange. Every story ended the same way, with the listener's name whispered into the final lines. And when that happened, the villagers never came back again. One night, alone by the dying fire, Eerie Arn heard his own name in the whispers. His hand trembled as the quill moved across the page. The story was already waiting for him, as though it had been written long before he came. It told of a weary scribe who thought he could master the voices, but who instead became the last name the cottage would remember. When dawn came, the door of the cottage stood open, the parchment covered in words no one had written. The villagers found the pages, but Eerie Arn was gone. Only the reeds whispered in the river's breath, carrying a new murmur. Stay, write, remember. And so the house waits still, its stories never ending. Each visitor one more voice in the wind,